I'll explain these two quickly and then we'll get you on your way. So the first one here is notice to appear in court, so your details at the top, offence details there, contravening domestic violence order. If you fail to appear, a warrant will be issued for your arrest. Go about the rest of your day.
Well, a very warm welcome to this video. Today's case is confronting because we're going to explore the brutal reality of domestic violence. Specifically, we're going to be focusing on a report by the Deputy Coroner of Queensland, Jane Bentley, who explored the reasons behind the tragic deaths of Hannah Clarke and her 3 children at the hands of her ex-husband, Rowan Baxter. These murders sparked not just a national outrage throughout Australia, but prompted Jane Bentley to demand a complete revamp of domestic training and support systems across Australia. Here we're going to explore 2 key areas from Jane Bentley's inquest report so that we can shed some light on exactly what happened and why. First of all, we're going to establish a timeline of events, because domestic violence really starts with murder. A timeline of events is helpful because it helps us to identify past incidents of abuse, both physical and emotional. It can also reveal to us any escalating pattern of behaviour, including if the violence increased in frequency or severity over time. Secondly, we're going to examine the concept of coercive control from the victim's perspective, and in this case, Hannah Clarke's. Hannah was leaving home with her 3 children, who were strapped into the back seat of their car. Trey, 3 years of age, was in the middle seat of the car. Alalia, 6, was behind the driver's seat, and Liania was sitting in the booster seat directly behind the front passenger. As Hannah started the car, Rowan Baxter, her former husband, jumped into the passenger seat and told her to drive. He was holding a petrol container and was armed with a knife. Hannah, of course, screamed at him to get out of the car. But in a final bid to save herself and her children, Hannah drove another 200 metres up the road, where she pulled into a driveway where a man was washing his car. She pleaded with him to call the police because, in Hannah's own words, she screamed, "He's trying to kill me, he poured petrol on me." On hearing this, the man, Mr. Zemek, recounted later to police that he saw Rowan Baxter in the front seat of the car. From where he was standing, he recognised that Hannah was being physically restrained from getting out of the vehicle. Baxter was reportedly using both his hands to physically restrain Hannah, who was desperately trying to escape his clutches. Mr. Zemek noted that Baxter didn't seem at all crazy, but like he was in control. And almost immediately after that, the car erupted in flames, and this prompted Mr. Zemek to run to the vehicle. He reported that he just couldn't recall whether it was he or Hannah who opened the door, but once it was open, Hannah escaped the inferno, and Mr. Zemek himself sustained burns to his face from the fire. He did not return to the vehicle simply because it was too hot to be near. But he realised straight away that Hannah was on fire and promptly told her to get to the ground and roll. He also hosed her to douse the flames. Once the flames were extinguished, Mr. Zemek went to the other side of the car and he found Rowan Baxter lying on the road. He was also alight, so Mr. Zemek also used his hose on him to extinguish the flames. As he returned to Hannah, who by this stage was pleading with people to rescue her children who were trapped in the burning car, he could see the car start to roll backwards and then subsequently explode. Another eyewitness account said that Hannah jumped out of the car, calling out, "He's poured petrol on me." Hannah was admitted to the Royal Brisbane and Women's Hospital, where she died at 5:40 p.m. that afternoon. She had sustained 97% burns to her body and perished at a young age of 31. Sadly, the 3 children strapped in the back seat had no chance of escaping the fire, and according to police records, Baxter stabbed himself in the abdomen at the scene and died a short time later. While Hannah Clarke lay seriously burnt on the side of the road, she did manage to give the police a detailed report as to what happened in the lead up to the lighting of the fire by Baxter. So, how did Hannah and her 3 children end up in this terrible situation? Well, the why of this can be summed up in 2 words: coercive control. And that's what we're going to talk about next. Well, coercive control, according to Stark, is an ongoing relentless pattern of behaviour that is designed to exert dominance and control over another person, usually an intimate partner, taking away their right to think and act independently of the perpetrator. If you would like to know more about coercive control, I've left a link in the description below. According to the coroner's report, Baxter attempted to control every aspect of Hannah's life. Baxter reportedly prohibited Hannah from wearing short skirts, skirts above the knee, or the colour pink. He also scrutinised her diet, criticising her choices and banning her from eating certain foods. Baxter also attempted to isolate Hannah from her family and friends, and this includes stopping Hannah from seeing her friends. He made numerous criticisms of Hannah's family members. If the house was messy, Baxter would become verbally abusive or even aggressive to Hannah. He would belittle her by putting her down even for her achievements. Another aspect of the coercive control Baxter inflicted on Hannah was that he stopped her from having her own Facebook page, and he also hacked into Hannah's Instagram account and read her content and messages. Even more worrisome, while Hannah was asleep, he would read her text messages without her consent, and this amounts to invasion of Hannah's privacy. Baxter clearly engaged in stalking behaviours. He would watch Hannah from outside of her home without her knowledge and entered the house when she wasn't expecting him. He also hid recording devices around the house and in Hannah's car. And again, this violates Hannah's legal right to privacy, and it could also be construed as part of an overall pattern of stalking. Baxter timed every movement Hannah made and was constantly calling or messaging her to see where she was and who she was with. Hannah summed this all up by saying she couldn't do anything without him knowing where she was, what she was wearing, and who she was talking to. Coercive control often includes physical and sexual violence, as well as verbal and emotional abuse, such as belittling, humiliating the person, or threatening behaviour, as well as attempts to isolate the victim from informal and formal supports. Hannah also reported to others that she experienced sexual violence from Baxter. She told others that she was forced into having sex with him every night. If she refused, Baxter wouldn't talk to her for days and would yell and be aggressive to Hannah. She said that he would make our lives hell and that she did everything to keep the peace and to keep the kids safe from his temper. Hannah further disclosed experiencing physical violence and non-lethal strangulation during sex with Baxter, and also acts of sexual assault. Baxter would put his hands around Hannah's neck during sex without her consent. He would not remove them, and this caused Hannah to physically defend herself from his brutal attacks. Hannah recounted one episode of violence that occurred around May 2019. She said that Baxter was trying to have sex with her and was getting quite physical. She said that he kept holding her down and she kept saying, "Stop it," and he just wouldn't get off her. Well, that is unlawful connection without consent. In other words, it's rape. She then went on to say that Baxter eventually let go of her as she grabbed at his ear in an act of self-defence. Baxter then took a garden hose and drove away intoxicated, threatening suicide. Hannah was so concerned by Baxter's behaviour and threats of suicidality that she called her parents, who went looking for him, but they were unable to find him. He returned home the very next day and acted like nothing had ever happened. Here I think that Baxter was playing directly on Hannah's vulnerabilities, like fear, guilt, or even sympathy, to make her more likely to give in to his demands in the future. So that's the why of what happened. But how can we stop something like this from happening again? Clearly there's some red flags here, and that's what we're going to go through in the next video. But in the meantime, be sure to like and subscribe for more content like this. Until then, take care.